My name is Catherine Shuttleworth and I'm the founder and CEO of Savvy Marketing. Last year I won the MadFest Female Leaders Award, the first time I'd ever been awarded, which I was super proud to win. When I won the award, I was absolutely blown away, and I was more sort of touched really by the comment that I was a woman who lifted other women up. To hear somebody say that about you after your career in marketing for a long time is just a bit overwhelming, to be honest. If you've got a brilliant female leader in your organisation, get applying on her behalf. I mean, people would laugh that don't know me, would say, well, of course you'd apply for this award. I'm not really very good at recognition. I don't really sort of revel in getting recognition and awards, or so I thought until I won this award. Because of course I was blown away, and I was really touched by how many people came and talked to me, people who through their career in some way I've influenced in a very tiny bit, people who are graduates, people who I've had working with me as account managers, wrote to me and congratulated me on this award. And it's a really good point of reflection about what you have actually achieved. And sometimes, particularly in the world we're in now, you're constantly rushing, next job, next task, must post something on LinkedIn, must go and have this meeting. We fail to reflect on what we've achieved, and just making that point to stop and think about it is really good. It's a really good thing to think about what you've done in your career, how you've achieved it. So I think that's important. The other reason I would say, get applying for this is this needs to become a really important part of the award season with the independent sector. There are so many amazing, talented women in the independent sector that I met over the last sort of 25 years. They deserve recognition because some of them have fought really hard to get where they are. And it's our duty to make sure that those people are recognised. So I would say, get right in your entry, get the people around you to help. Get Savvy Marketing up nearly 19 years ago. I'd worked in the agency world before that, and I'd worked as a client in marketing before that. And I always wanted to create great ideas for fantastic brands across the world. And I've been able to do that in my career. And an opportunity arose for me to start my own business, which coincided with me starting my family. I had 3 children under 3 when I started Savvy. And I really wanted a bit more flexibility and a different way of living work-life balance, which 19 years ago, to be honest, there wasn't any work-life balance. So I started the agency up. I was going to have a small agency of a couple of people, and it's grown significantly since then. And I'm proud to say now that we do work with some of the world's largest brands across the globe. We have offices here in Leeds, where I am today, and also in London. And I have managed to bring up 3 children who've now all finished school and are going their different ways across the world. And it has allowed me some kind of work-life balance. Probably not what I anticipated at the beginning, but it's been a real privilege, the greatest privilege of my whole life, to be able to run a business, call it my own, and be a female leader. The big thing about running my own business and running Savvy was that I was in charge of my own destiny. And increasingly, when I'd been working in other organisations, I didn't really feel there was anybody who understood what it was like to be a working mum and a leader, and also to be hugely ambitious. Those things seem to be, you could be one of those 3 things, but you couldn't be all 3. But of course, having your own business means you can set your own destiny. And that was the real difference for me, to be able to work with the kind of business I wanted, to be able to work with those businesses in a way that I believed was the right way to run business, and to be able to afford a much more kind of flexible approach, which might sound strange me saying that to you today in a world where we can work from anywhere we like. But 19 years ago, you couldn't do that. Visibility and presence in the office was everything. Clients would expect you to be there with them. And most women disappeared after they had children. And I'll tell you one thing was for sure, I certainly didn't meet any women as old as I am now. And that is a huge difference. And running my own business has it's allowed me to smash some of those old-fashioned ideas apart, and to treat people wherever they come from, however they recognise themselves, how they want to present themselves as equals, and to give people opportunity. And that's been something that I didn't feel I could do in the construct of the agencies I worked for before, or with the brands. And as I say, the workforce has transformed beyond all recognition since when I started the business up. But I still think there are important tenets that remain about being a good boss, listening to people, listening to your clients, and having a lot of fun and being really passionate about what you do. And culturally, independence is critical. You know, I'm an independent thinker. I'd like to think that I was kind of independent in my thoughts about lots of things, not just business. And being able to be away from a big corporate organisation with lots of rules and meetings and the things that stifle your creativity and thinking, for me, independence has allowed me to continue doing the things I've wanted to do when I've wanted to do them, without having to do things that sometimes are wrong. You know, sometimes the wrong decisions get made in corporate cultures, or you stay with a client too long, or you present an idea that you don't think is good enough. But you know, you do that within a different kind of culture. The great thing about being an independent agency is you can come up with any ideas you like, whenever you like, present them to whoever you want, and that's very freeing, very liberating. And I think as a result, you do have a lot of fun working in the independent sector. It's hard work, but it's very rewarding. And you feel as though you're building something that is a really positive future. And so as a result, I think people are much more connected to you, both from a client's perspective and also from the people who work with you. Sometimes we talk about independence, that, you know, we're all like families. And I think that's a tricky analogy, to be honest, because families are different, and every family is different. But, you know, family relationships different. This is still a commercial world in the world of independence, but I think it does allow you to have very different relationships with the people that you spend your life with every day. And, you know, some of the people I work with, I've been working with every day now for 15 or 16 years, and we all grow together. And that's the other thing that's great about being independent. You can choose your growth. You can adopt a growth mindset with the people around you, and that's very exciting. The most important thing when you run an agency, independent or otherwise, but even more so when you're independent, is it's all about how good your team is, and it's about finding the most brilliant team you can. And that means looking at talent in lots of different places. So you know, you can look at a CV and you can read that somebody's had 2 years here and they've been doing a bit of planning, a bit of strategy, a bit of account handling, whatever. But actually, sometimes you need to look outside of that, and you need to look for the most talented people who will fit in your organisation, who will enjoy independence, who will bring something to the party that you've not got. I mean, the greatest skill as a leader is employ people who are loads better than you are at the things that you're not so good at, and also have the potential to be better than you will ever be. And then in terms of, you know, what I would say about myself is, when I started work a long time ago, prehistoric times, the world of work was very different than the world of work is today, particularly for women. It was totally different. And I wouldn't want anybody to go back into some of those times where voices weren't heard equally, whoever you were. You know, ideas were not seen equally, whoever you were. And I think the ability to adapt time, so to allow families to thrive, whether that's a mum or a dad, however the family relationships works, is really important. So as an employer, you've got to look at the person who works for you as a full person, not just the person who turns up for work, but what's the full life of that person? What do they do outside of work? What motivates them? What makes them want to get up out of the bed every morning? And what lets them be the best they can be? So yes, I have adopted policies around the menopause, policies around better family time. You know, we're very flexible with the way that we work, where you work, and all those things. But for me, that's just doing good business. It's not rocket science. It amazes me and saddens me hugely when I speak to women who are still suffering what I would say is the challenge of the past. That can't be the case. It's 2025. You know, we're in the UK. We're in a society of great education, great opportunity. And, you know, what I would say to people is, if you're working for a business where you don't believe that you're embraced for who you are, leave. Just leave, go somewhere else, because there are thousands of great businesses in the UK that you could go and work for instead. So, but you know, the thing that keeps me awake at night around people and being a leader is about, have I done the best I could have done? So the greatest concerns I've had when I look back on the last 19 years has always been about people. It's not really been about, well, we'll get the next bit of new business, or you know, how a fee rise might go through, or is a pitch fair? Is it real pitch? Yeah, all those things are important at the time, and I will get concerned about, but they're never the thing I think about last thing at night. The things I think about then are, have I been the best leader I could be? Have I been fair? Have I thought about this? And it's made me think differently. Being an independent agency, I kind of have to make decisions about people all the time, and that's fantastic. And that, I think, is a real privilege, to be able to give people meaningful careers and meaningful opportunities. So yeah, I kind of have two careers really, don't I? Have one where I'm the CEO and founder of Savvy, and then I have, you know, her off the telly. So I spend quite a lot of time every week in the media discussing matters to do with retail, marketing and business. And that has been a really valuable part of my working life, actually. Again, it's an opportunity I was given. I was quite nervous about it. I didn't think I could do it. So typical female, you know, don't quite believe in yourself, don't think you're capable of doing it. And I've had to work really hard at doing it and keeping doing it week after week and staying relevant. And as a leader, I think what's good about it is it demonstrates, you know, I have a huge belief in my career, which was given to me when I was younger, which is, you know, if you think you can, you probably will. If you think you can't, you won't. And that's the major thing for me. So if I think I can, I probably will do it. It would be really easy not to do it. And it you know, sometimes I bump into people. I've done this recently at Madfest up in Manchester, where I bump into colleagues from many years ago. And I have to tell you, mainly male colleagues, who say to me, oh, you're always on the telly. I always hear you on the radio. And even now I sort of go, oh, all right. And then I walk away and I think, yeah, that's right. It is me. And I get asked all the time. And isn't that fantastic? But as a female leader, if I can demonstrate just to one person, one young, you know, we get loads of students come to us every year. We have lots of placement students, that you can do anything, even if you have got a northern accent, even if you are living in Leeds, even if you're not perhaps as telegenic as the next person. If I can make one person think you can do anything you want to do, well, it's worthwhile. And that's why I keep on doing it. And it doesn't matter whether you win or not, just entering is a really fantastic thing to do. And you can celebrate that in your own organisation in some way. But I couldn't recommend it more. I think it's a really exciting thing to do. And, you know, I'm behind everybody every step of the way. If they want to talk to me about it, how did we apply for it from here? Happy to do that. You know, the hardest thing is writing the first 3 words, but once you're off, you'll be fine. The benefit of being part of the Alliance, I mean, we kind of got started right at the beginning, is you connect with like-minded individuals who are in the same place, who are trying to achieve things in a similar sector, but with no edge to it. You know, that's the great thing. You can network with peers, people who've got challenges, people who, you know, it'd be a shortcut in a lot of cases. You know, I could ask another Alliance member a question and it might help me, it might shortcut and saves me wasting a lot of time. So that's been a huge positive about having this group of people. The other side of it for me is about the analysis that gets done behind the scenes in terms of how are our teams feeling in the independent sector. Certainly as we came through COVID, that was critical in terms of the way we were thinking about our people. So I think that's really useful. I'd say get involved as much as you can with the Alliance. The more you put into it, the more you get your teams to fill surveys in, the better the depth of information we're getting about our area of independence. And the reality of the Alliance and the independent agencies is that we make up an enormous part of the creative industries in Britain today. So we need a voice. And, you know, I'm hopeful that that's something that the Alliance will build on and get a much louder voice for us as a big team of people across the UK doing amazing work that sometimes doesn't get recognised. And then the other side is for my team. It's really useful from a training and development perspective. And for them, we know we're learning more about the independent sector. We're meeting media agencies, we're meeting research agencies and different groups of people who are doing really interesting work that we might be able to partner with. And so that's even more powerful when you can bring two independent agencies together.